The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. Back with the second play-in preview in a row. We were hoping we didn't have to do this one. My name is Mike, here with Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Hello, friends. It's do or die time yet again.
This time
I suppose Tuesday night, we probably called it do or die. It felt do or die. It was more like do or piss us all off night on
do
Tuesday.
Or make me want to die.
Yeah, do or draw 25, and the Suns decided to draw 25. And so here we are again. Same deal. We're giving you T-minus 24 hours before their season is actually potentially over if they don't win this next game against the Warriors. Do you want to start with like a super-duper quick recap on the Blazers game in case people want to hear us talk about it before...
It's relevant, I think,
before it gets stale. Yeah,
to the Warriors too, because it's just how they've been playing lately. I think what's tough is like you can almost like copy and paste the recap of this game into 10 of the previous collapses in the fourth quarter that they had in the last few months before the season ended. So it is sort of this rehashing Groundhog Day style of everything they've been struggling with lately, but this time healthy. But yeah, they went into this game. They played well for three quarters, and they collapsed in the fourth. And it happened again. They could not score in the fourth. And yeah, I think they had some decisions that were made in the fourth that we can get to in detail. But I think the story of this game was that Denny Avdia scored 41 and Devin Booker scored 22
on 17 shots for Book. Denny Avdia, who I explicitly said, I remember in our preview a few days ago, I think Devin Booker is better than Denny Avdia. But Denny Avdia had 41 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. And look, ultimately the story of this game for me is the Suns had to, there are a million things, right? A million things, truly. The Suns had to take away something from the Blazers defensively. Either they had to allow Denny to get his and then stay home on all of their shooters and not allow them to hit 17 threes. Or they had
12 in the first half, too.
12 in the first half, and then multiple clutch threes by guys like Jeremy Grant in the fourth quarter after the Suns we talk about lack of adjustments, but just continuing to sag off of the wrong guys. It just persisted throughout the game. So they either had to allow Denny to get his 40 points and have 3 assists, or the inverse of that, right? Force the ball out of his hands and then fine if they shoot whatever, but don't let him drive incessantly to the basket and get 41 points. And at the end of the day, they did neither. And it was sort of just the worst case scenario. It was sort of a nightmare scenario for how it turned out for us. And there are a lot of things that go into that. But it sucked.
I actually thought strategically they had the right ideas, particularly in the first half. We talked about what they should do against Donovan Clingan. They took him out of the game a little bit, Clingan. We talked about just letting him shoot a little bit from three, and if he starts punishing you there, closing out on him, that's exactly what they did. He was 0 for 3 from 3 throughout that game. I thought overall they did a good job of attacking and getting to the rim in the first 3 quarters once again, and they found ways to do well. I went into this game not fully confident. We talked about it on our preview that they would win this game. I thought one of the problems that the Suns faced was the rotation of centers, being that the Suns had Mark Williams and Oso Ighodaro, and those were bad matchups for Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams. Well, Robert Williams and Donovan Clingan finished this game 2 for 12 combined. It wasn't exactly a great game for those guys, and the surprising, I think, twist in this game was that Splitter really took the centers out of the game in the clutch for the Portland Trail Blazers, forcing the Suns to go small and play with Oso Ighodaro for most of that time.
So that's forcing them to go small and then even play without Oso Ighodaro.
Which is, I think that's the choice that I disagree with. I think Oso was actually doing well in that time, and then fully taking him out of the game, I just don't understand. I think on that last possession, in particular, and I do want to talk about Devin Booker as well, because I think...
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. But in that last possession where Jordan Goodwin was matched up against Denny Avdia, at that point of the game, with the way that he was playing, I almost would have felt more comfortable just with Oso Ighodaro on him. With Oso Ighodaro's ability to move his feet, the fact that he's a little bit bigger, or a lot bigger than Goodwin, and can't exactly be pushed around. Jordan Goodwin, it took one dribble move, and Goodwin was behind him. Goodwin played well in that game. Don't get me wrong. I actually think Goodwin overall had a good game. But in that particular matchup, with no help at the rim, because there was no center, which, by the way, even if there was centers in the game, there's not much help at the rim anyway, with the way the Suns centers have been playing. So, even if they were in the game, I'm not sure that they would have done a good job, in that matchup anyway. But in that particular moment, I think Oso Ighodaro is the smarter decision maker, and taking him out of the game entirely, I think, was probably not the right choice in that case. I know what they wanted to do. They wanted to switch everything, make sure there was no open shots with any movement. And because Denny was cooking so much in that game, they didn't even need a screen, right? They just attacked one-on-one, playoff style basketball, attacked the mismatch. He thought the mismatch was there from the beginning, and he was right. And he got the N1 that sort of sealed the game for them.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that much of a size advantage, you don't need screens. We've seen that with a lot of teams this year, that sometimes, if you're a bigger wing, you can just overwhelm with your innate ability to drive. And for the Suns, I like Jordan Goodwin a lot, and he did his best on Denny Avdia, but it is an obvious mismatch, and having Royce O'Neal and Dillon Brooks be behind him as the guys to plug up the gaps and potentially come over and protect at the rim, it's just not enough. And it was obvious that it's not enough, right? So I think that was a clear mistake on Ott's part. Hopefully he learns from it. Who knows? The whole should it have been Oso versus should it have been Mark Williams thing is going to continue to be a contentious point of debate in the fan base, and I understand why. I know you're firmly on the Oso train. We're going to talk about Golden State in a bit. I think we're going to see a lot of Oso Ighodaro for better or worse tomorrow, and he's going to have to play really well, because Mark Williams has not played well against the Warriors this year, and they're just
or
adept.
Any team that shoots threes with their bigs,
yeah, they're just adept at potentially taking advantage of him. But then guess what? Other guys need to rebound, and so I do want to say quickly, and we should move on to Booker after this, but I will give some props to Royce O'Neal, who I am frequently very tough on, but for the entire third quarter was the best player on the court for the Suns, and actually had a run where he literally not just kept them in the game, but helped them extend a lead. He had several steals. He rebounded really well despite his size. It was a good Royce O'Neal game. He just shouldn't have been playing center in the final 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only real moment that you felt like the Suns were going to win was his steal in three. And other than that, I just was not fully confident in them in this game. To me, by the way, yes, it's not even close as far as who it should have been out of Mark Williams or Oso Ighodaro in that last possession. Mark Williams is not capable of chasing shooters. They had a bunch of shooters on the court. They just put him in a poor position there. I mean, you could argue that even if you are small, bring help on Denny and force them to make somebody else beat you. And I think even in that case, you could make the decision that it's not just personnel related. It's about the decisions made in that moment.
Well,
you don't need to have a screen to bring a second defender. You can trap. You can force the ball out of Denny's hands earlier in the shot clock.
They didn't trap, but they got caught in no man's land a lot, right? So they tried to bring over an additional presence. There was always a guy kind of waiting at the nail if Denny was at the top of the key to attack. But then that's how you get Jeremy Grant killing you in the fourth quarter from three. And I said a couple of days ago, by all means, this Portland team is young. They have tons of streaky shooters. Plug up those gaps and test their shooters essentially. But okay, then they came out in the first half and had 12 threes. Maybe, maybe after they've proven themselves a little bit, it's time to make the adjustment at halftime. So there are a lot of frustrating things. But
those decisions, I think, strategically are defensible, because there is Portland beat the Suns in multiple ways in this game. And you're right, there are ways that if you bring the help that they can kill you from three, and it's 3 points either way. But he got 3 points on that drive. I think, to me, size in that moment, in that last possession, obviously would have helped. Maybe you can get some rim defense in that moment. I'm not sure. Like I said, Oso Ighodaro or Mark Williams would have made that big of a difference on that particular possession. But no matter what, I keep going back to it. This was the case for the last 2 months of the season. I understand the desire to want to see more size in the fourth quarter collapses that the Suns have had when they were relatively healthy this season. The thing that would have made the biggest difference is not playing the young guys. It's Devin Booker playing better in the fourth quarter. And this was another game where if the Suns were to win this game, regardless of how tall the teammates are on the court with him, what would have made this game a win is if Devin Booker played better. There has been too many times in the last few months where to me, at least I've come on this podcast and said the exact same thing about it. And this was another game where that happened. Now, strategically and personnel-wise, are there ways to put him in a better position to succeed? Yes, I do think that is the case. I don't think this was the case where just playing taller players would have helped them in those moments. Because to me, once again, going long stretches without a single bucket is a problem. It's just a problem. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think Rasheer Fleming or Ryan Dunn fixed that. They actually make it worse.
Yeah, that's fine. They don't fix it in the half court. The question with those guys is always, do they create more activity on the defensive end that you turn into transition offense? But it's not a question. That's the argument for playing those guys. It's not about fixing the half court offense.
Like there was 4 steals by Royce O'Neal. I'm not sure Rasheer was going to do much more than that. You know what I mean? Like they just need to be better in the half court. And by the way, let me just say this too. The transition defense in the postseason is better. Teams are more focused on transition defense in the postseason. You're not going to get as many points in transition in the postseason period, whether it be playoffs or play-in. Teams are better at transition defense when they're more prepared to play it. That means you have to score in the half court. That's how teams win in the postseason. That's how it's always been, and that would have been the case in this game as well.
Right. So the thing about Book, though, I think the pendulum has swung pretty far in one direction against Book after the last 24, 48 hours. Talking about like arguably the largest figure in local media, John Gambadoro. Me saying his full name, like people don't know who he is if I just say Gambo.
Jonathan Gambadoro? Yeah.
Jonathan Gambadoro. Does anyone know his middle name? Coming out on the radio the next day, and look, I know the job of radio hosts is to be kind of inflammatory anyway, but like, being like Devin Booker, and I know you said you didn't listen to this, but I did, saying that Devin Booker is a middling number 2 in the NBA. So like we're at the point where that would place him roughly somewhere between the 40th and 50th best player in the NBA, if you wanted to take that at face value, is kind of a crazy statement for local media to come out that hard on Devin Booker. I understand going after him after this game, 100%. He shot like shit. He doesn't create inherent advantages in the same way that Denny does because he just doesn't have the ability to bully his way all the way to the rim. He's always stopping short in the mid-range, and then, he relies on the ability to make tough shots. He can't make pull-up threes anymore. Then again, though, Denny doesn't really make pull-up threes either. But I do think there's a question of how much of it is this is just who Devin Booker is now, and we might be entering the technically past his prime phase of his career. He's almost 30 years old. Is he 30 years old? Is he 29 still?
Yeah. You should know that. You have the same birthday.
That's true. We do. He's 29 for another 6 months. So he's almost 30 years old, but potentially a little bit past his prime. Versus how much of it can just be boosted by playing the right personnel. Because I want to point out, you say this all the time, like, kind of excusing the way that Devin Booker plays by saying he's the only one who can create an advantage on the floor, right? That's true, despite how well Jalen Green played in this game against the Trailblazers. He made a ton of crazy shots, but in general, It is true that Booker is the only advantage creator on the floor for the Suns. However, we lost to a team in literally the same exact situation because that 100% describes the Portland Trailblazers as well. A couple of critical differences. One, Denny Avdia, who relies on driving to the basket at will, gets to play with a stretch big in Donovan Clingan. Mm-hmm. And this is part of the reason I think he's absolutely not ready to play right now, and there's no way that Ott would play him right now, but this is why Kaman Malawach, in theory, the idea of what he could be is so important to the Suns' future, right? Maybe they can't find another guy who can truly be at Booker's level to be like a quasi number 1, number 2 on a championship team. But maybe they can give him some spacing by having a center who shoots threes and also protects the rim really well. And that's something that they just don't have right now. And they just can't score inside right now. Even with Mark Williams, they don't look for Mark Williams. Oso literally can't do it. So they just don't get any points in the paint, but they don't get, 5-out spacing either that a guy like Devin Booker could benefit from. So that, that's really difficult. And I don't want to make excuses for him because the free throw shooting was terrible too. He just needs to be better in those situations. I really hope he is better tomorrow against Golden State. But I just wanted to say, people are being a little bit crazy on Book right now. It's going really far in the other direction.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And as you were saying that, I was actually kind of curious, who actually assisted Devin Booker the most this season? Because, you're thinking about Jalen Green, and what makes Jalen Green good when he's good is that he's making really difficult shots. He's not really creating for others. He's not, drawing two defenders and passing, and then other guys are scoring off of that. That's just not happening. It's when he takes crazy pull-up shots that actually go in. And that's a valuable thing to have. And it's a valuable thing to have when you have to score in the half court. But in the fourth quarter, when the defense tightens up a little bit, where did he go? He disappeared. He disappeared in the same way Devin Booker did. It's just that Devin Booker's supposed to be better. So you expect more out of Devin Booker. Okay, let me tell you this. Passes from, let me see. Who do you think assisted Devin Booker most this season?
My first thought is Colin Gillespie.
That's correct. 47. Okay. Now, this is where it starts to get funny. Who do you think assisted? That's not a lot. Yeah, I know. It's very little, especially if you think about the time with Chris Paul.
I have a theory for number 2 that probably seems a little outlandish. Is it Oso?
Great guess. That's number 3.
Because I was thinking they would be fake assists. He just gets a handoff from Oso, goes around the screen, hits a midi.
Fair. It is Royce O'Neal with 41, and then Oso with 20. It goes all the way down to 26. This is on the season. So I do think there is an element where, you think about the time Chris Paul assisted Devin Booker an insane amount of times, when you think about the era that we're talking about in the past. In fact, I can actually look it up while we're talking about it. 147 times. So about 100 more times than anyone on the Suns did this year. So there is a world where, Devin Booker does not get any opportunities to score off of movement because somebody else is creating offense on the other side of the ball.
Very critically, though, you're seeing the other thing that I'm seeing a lot on the internet over the past 24 hours is this is what happens when the Suns try and make Devin Booker a point guard. He's not a point guard. He needs a point guard again. And I hate to tell you people, but the Chris Paul, except for maybe Tyrese Halliburton, maybe one or two names besides him that I can't think of right now. I know. But the Chris Pauls of the NBA are dead. That's not an archetype that exists anymore. Mm-hmm. You can't just go out and pluck a Ricky Rubio off the street.
Ty Lue killed them.
They literally kind of tried this with Tyus Jones, who was a complete turnstile defensively that just made them so much worse whenever he was on the floor. But yeah, technically he could assist Devin Booker without turning the ball over. So it's not about a point guard. It's just about any other initiator. It doesn't matter what position they play. This is why it was so crazy. Sorry to go back to it, but Gambo saying that Jamal Murray is better than Booker now. And it's Jamal Murray plays with Jokic. He plays with maybe a top 5 player in NBA history at this point. These things just do not exist in vacuums. And so we need to bring in context into the situation. And obviously Booker's going to look better if he plays next to another initiator, be that a point guard or a 7'2" center, if that's what Malawach is going to be in 3 years when he's the next Joel Embiid. Who knows?
Thinking about Jamal Murray on this Suns team is kind of funny to think about and picture. And by the way, you are talking about Denny Avdia as their main advantage creator. I just want to give some credit to Drew Holiday, who played 38 minutes in this game and had 21 points, 4 assists, and he's just good. He's just solid. He's not Drew Holiday that he used to be. So he's not creating advantages the way he did when he was in Philadelphia. We're a long ways away from that. But just to have someone that's that reliable and that unfazed by any moment is pretty valuable. Not to mention Jeremy Grant, who didn't play a lot in this game, but did have 16 points in 19 minutes.
I said Jeremy Grant will make them worse. That's another one of my bad opinions that I said a few days ago. And then just total... I mean, we shouldn't have fucking left him wide open in the corner multiple times, right?
That's where Jordan Goodwin actually was kind of bad.
I could have told them not to do that, right? But, he dead-eyed it in the fourth quarter. So props to him.
Look, Devin Booker just hits a couple more shots, makes his free throws, the Suns win this game, right? That's one way they could have won, right? Another way is just smarter decision-making in the fourth quarter, better defense in the fourth quarter. Another way is the bench actually playing well. Colin Gillespie 1 for 4, 5 points in 20 minutes. I mentioned it on our preview
Denny
episode.
gets ejected after yelling in the refs' faces all fourth quarter.
Yeah, that could have helped too.
His conduct was despicable.
Yeah. But Colin Gillespie has to play better for the Suns to have the opportunity to win. He does struggle against teams that have bigger wing defenders. That was the team that did it. He could and should play better against the Golden State Warriors. He has not been playing well lately, so there's no confidence. I don't have a ton of faith that he will do that. We'll get into the Warriors in a second. Ryan Dunn played 9 minutes in this game, was bad. In the minutes that he played, he looked terrified. He turned down bad shots. He turned down good shots. He took bad shots. Like he did not have his head on right in this game. He needs to find ways to play a little bit better in those minutes. Multiple times he caught the ball open, dribbled into defense, and passed to another guy who was defended, and the entire offense stalled out with him on the court. He did not look ready for the moment. Oso Ighodaro played well in the second half, did not play well in the first half, and the same can be said about Royce O'Neal. Basically, every single Suns player that came off the bench in this game did not look ready for the moment until Royce O'Neal and Oso Ighodaro had a few moments in the second half where they played relatively well. Those guys need to play better. That would be pretty helpful for the Suns. We're at the point with the Suns where we know when the defense is cranked up that they're going to struggle to score. They need to have a bigger lead going into fourth quarter if you expect them to win. That's just who they are now. And that's just kind of what we have to expect them to be, because that's been the case for this team for a few months now. That's just who they've been. So that's something we have to see. We have to see them do. If you care about coffee and how it's made, check out Alchemy Roast. They roast in small batches and source their beans responsibly, focusing on flavor instead of mass production. The result is coffee that's balanced, well-developed, and easy to drink, whether you brew at home every day or just want something better than grocery store coffee. You can order online at alchemyroaster.com, and if you use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. Go now to alchemyroaster.com, my favorite coffee, and use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout. Get 10% off, support a local Phoenix business, and get the best coffee you can buy.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend. The big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel. But it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVANISH.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com.
Let's transition to the Warriors now, because that's the main reason I think people are tuning in. That's an experienced team, and certainly in a fourth quarter against the Warriors, you watched the game between the Warriors and the Clippers. I know you watched it on replay, but their ability to make miraculous comebacks, you almost just have to sit back and watch in awe of Steph Curry a little bit. I'm sorry to glaze him or whatever. Probably Suns fans aren't particularly interested in my glazing of Steph Curry, but it was a really fun fourth quarter to watch the Warriors make that comeback. You had old man Al Horford just raining down threes.
Jesus, he was awesome, dude.
Yeah, and then, I'm not excited to watch Draymond by any means, but
yeah, he's not going to get, the refs aren't going to call a single thing he does. So Devin Booker, the way he got to the free throw line in the Portland game, I doubt that's going to happen against the Warriors.
They're going to bring a level of poise and preparedness that the Suns need to match. And I don't know if I have that trust.
3 of them. You know?
You mean just those 3?
It's really just Al Horford, Draymond Green, Steph Curry that are like really prepared for the moment, right? I mean, Porzingis, he's had some moments, but not really. You know?
Gary Payton II is a champion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Did he play in 2022?
I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he was injured at a certain point, though.
I don't remember anymore. I think
maybe he was injured by then. Yeah,
I can't remember. I think he played. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. What's your first? Who did you want to play here? Were you rooting for the Clippers? Were you rooting for the Warriors?
I think I was rooting for the Warriors. Have been objectively worse than the Clippers for months, in the way that the Suns have been objectively worse than the Trailblazers for months.
And can we just say, hopefully this doesn't, come back to bite me in 24 hours. I mean, but I admit it, right? The Warriors are objectively a worse team in most statistical categories than the Suns.
Yes. But
they
have
absolutely,
Steph Curry, exactly.
But they have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And so they absolutely could beat us tomorrow. 1,000%. I don't have confidence. I don't have trust in the Suns right now. But compared to the Clippers, I think there are talent gaps. I think there's a real dearth of defensive talent on the Warriors a lot of the time, and offensive talent, to be honest with you. Talking about teams that only have one advantage creator. Since Jimmy Butler went down for the season, they would be a totally different team with Jimmy, of course. But they can't get into the paint, right? So it's just they are so heavily reliant on three-point shooting, and they shot 46% from 3 against the Clippers. And if they shoot 46% again from 3 against the Suns, we very well may go down. But there's going to be that high variance, just as there was with the Blazers. There's going to be that high variance with the Warriors because they cannot score inside. They're going to start Kristaps Porzingis at center, and he is not an inside scoring big. Al Horford certainly is not an inside scoring big. Draymond Green is not an inside scoring big. Podziemski and Guy Santos aren't going to drive to the rim 10 times each, although they are decent. But they're going to shoot because that's the only way they're going to be able to generate offense in general.
This is a team, by the way, who shot 55 threes on the Suns the last time they played. Now, see, that was without Steph and without Devin Booker, by the way, but that was a team that shot just so many threes. I believe they shot over 30 in the first half of that game alone. So they're going to launch from the three-point line. But you look at the way they played against the Clippers, which you're right, was very impressive. And, especially, I think, obviously Steph did his Steph thing, but I was particularly impressed by Al Horford and Draymond Green, just turning it on exactly the way that the Warriors needed in order for them to win that game, whether it be Draymond Green just absolutely shutting Kawhi Leonard down in the fourth quarter, or Al Horford not only hitting threes, he literally had a Steph-style relocation 3 in the fourth quarter where he pitched it to a guy, ran around a screen, caught it in the corner and shot it and made it, and then a pull-up 3 in transition. Al Horford looked like he was 25 years old and just hitting threes all over the court. And those guys are probably going to play well against the Suns regardless. You can't let Brandon Podziemski have 17 points and shoot 5 for 11 if you want to win this game as well, though, which is something the Clippers did. Podziemski just had moment after moment and was one of their more consistent players, ended up playing the most minutes on the team, 41 minutes total, and was a problem for the Clippers.
Had 20 points, too, and he's capable of knocking down shots.
Yeah, he's been good this season, and he did have... The thing is, you look at this team, right? They're constantly turnover prone. The Warriors. They had 20 turnovers in this game. That is something that plays into the Suns' hands. That was true about the Portland Trailblazers, who did not turn it over much against the Suns in the game. But there's an obvious recipe for the Suns winning this game. And this is a team, by the way, that as far as your concerns about larger wing defenders, they have Draymond. That's kind of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they
100%.
don't have a bunch of guys that are gonna actually bother the Suns in the way that a lot of teams have bothered the Suns this year. So it's not the worst matchup for the Suns, but yeah, we can talk about the Steph Curry.
No, I really don't think it's a bad matchup for us at all. I think it's a good matchup in a lot of ways. One immediate thing I'm curious about, because I thought it was interesting that the Warriors overplayed or played Kawhi Leonard with so much help. And I wonder, this is kind of like how I wrap my head around how teams view Devin Booker in, the current version of Devin Booker, right? Because Kawhi is not a completely dissimilar player to Devin Booker. He's stronger than Devin Booker, but he's like, he loves the mid-range, and he loves his elbow touches, and he's not necessarily, he averages like 4 assists a game, right? He's not creating a ton of assists, just constantly getting downhill. And yet they very easily could have said, okay, Kawhi, we're just going to guard you one-on-one and whatever, score. But no, they were content to like throw hard traps at him and just like try and shake him up throughout the game, and by any means necessary get the ball into the hands of much less comfortable Clippers role players. And that could be a good thing for the Suns. It could also be a bad thing. We've talked a lot. I know Kellen Olson has gotten answers, or maybe it was Dwayne Rankin, I can't remember anymore, from the players about how, like, for guys like Grayson Allen, it's been so hard with them just like not leaving Suns shooters anymore, to play Devin Booker one-on-one and sort of just like let him get his. If they overplay on Booker a little bit in this game, it might be an opportunity for some of the role players to open up in a way that we haven't really seen in a little while. That provides some opportunity for Jalen Green to get going again. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, how Steve Kerr is going to view the challenge of guarding Devin Booker compared to what he did against Kawhi Leonard.
Well, let's stay on that. Do you think they just, because they just like eventually they just put Draymond on him and said, go do the Draymond thing?
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup question, because part of what makes, like, otherwise, is it going to be Podziemski in the starting lineup? If they, assuming they start the same starting lineup, which by the way was Curry, Podziemski, Santos, Porzingis, and Green, it would kind of have to be Podziemski on Booker. So you kind of just look at this and go, I kind of feel like they're going to put Draymond Green on Booker. And if they're going to learn anything from the Portland game, what Portland did is just kind of let Booker go one-on-one in that first half and stay true on shooters and try to keep the Suns from hitting any threes. If that's something they do, it seems like Draymond Green being on Booker would be the right choice, although Draymond Green is an excellent off-ball defender as well, just a guy.
Yeah, I think they might want to, I really don't know. I think they might want to keep Draymond as an off-ball defender, but of course they have Porzingis now as well, who is a capable, like, he's still a capable rim protector. I think very much.
Still huge.
If you move the ball side to side, you can move Porzingis around on the floor, and this is why we always sound like broken records. But this time, for real, guys, you got to play fast. They're starting Kristaps Porzingis, who has a nervous, like, all due respect, he's got a nervous system disorder. Yeah. He's got, like...
He's also questionable tomorrow. By the way, the injury reports just came out. Porzingis is questionable. Mark Williams
Al Horford
is
42 years old. Yeah. I don't know what his actual age is, but I think I'm not far off. Right?
See, I think he's 39. I think you're right.
I actually looked it up, by the way. In the regular season, and I know these guys are playoff risers, but in the regular season, a several 100-minute sample size, when Steph Curry and Al Horford share the floor, the Warriors have a 122 defensive rating this year. They need to be fast. This is not the time to pretend like you're 34 years old and dribbling the air out of the ball and you're going to go hit a bunch of KD middies, okay? This is the team to play fast on. And make them feel the pressure of being in your building in this do or die moment. Now, do they actually do it? I don't know. But, like, God, there has never been a better opportunity for them to do so than against a team that is both old and turns the ball over a lot. Which is why I kind of think, like, if the Suns play this right, they really should be able to take care of business against a team like this.
Yeah, but then how much confidence do you have in that with the
exactly.
way
Then you get to the fourth quarter and all bets are off.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right. Not to mention just the idea of, like, we're so accustomed to a full-on collapse that starts from the first second the ball is tipped. That's something we've seen as Suns fans before, where you just go down by 20. This team is a little bit different in that even in the regular season, it felt like that they were more likely to lose a close game than they were to lose by getting outscored by 30. I don't know how much of a comfort that is to Suns fans. Of course, it shouldn't be in any way, because those are almost more heartbreaking. But, it does kind of feel like that is a more likely scenario, it is one of those things though with Steph where, you just never know. He had 35 points on 23 shots and had a couple of really back-breaking threes in that fourth quarter off the dribble in ways that really only Steph can do. So it's a question of how much can you contain him. The Suns don't have much for him, right? Like I said it, by the way, I don't know if you heard it, Mark Williams is questionable tomorrow. Right foot soreness. That's something that just came out as well. But if Mark Williams is in the game against Steph, I don't really know what you do in that case. I almost feel like you got to put Mark Williams on like someone other than Draymond. not that they're I guess it's going to be Kristaps Porzingis, but then they just bring Kristaps Porzingis into that action, and then like any sort of drop that's played in that way is going to be a struggle. And if you're Mark Williams and you switch, then Steph gets to the rim in those cases. He gets to the rim. He's one of the best finishers in the NBA when he has a big on him, and that's in a chase. And, that's why Oso's going to play. You mentioned it. Oso's going to play because Oso can switch. Oso can move his feet better. Maybe they'll bring a second guy and let Oso scram switch back to the big. But that's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Oso's going to play, but this is really a situation where that's not a bad thing, because and they could always prove me wrong, but there's not much of a rebounding disadvantage to be had by playing Oso for 40 minutes in this game if that's what they need, right? I mean, Draymond will grab some rebounds. Porzingis, actually, to his credit, had a couple of great offensive rebounds in the Clippers game, but they're not going to be relentlessly crashing. They don't have a Donovan Clingan on that team. They don't have a Robert Williams. It's just a different personnel. And Oso is absolutely capable of being out there for long stretches of time. Steph might make him look silly a few times, but I'm sure this is a good matchup for Oso, I think.
Yeah, as far as that can be the case after the way he's played lately, then yeah, I agree with you. Guarding Steph, it's got to be Jordan Goodwin to start, right?
Yeah, it will.
You just put Jordan Goodwin on him to start. You try to make him bother him as much as possible.
Does Dillon Brooks take Draymond or is that just recipe for disaster within?
What else could they do? I mean, seriously, what else could Booker?
Yeah, why, of course. Anyone can guard Draymond. Even if, and don't give me the split action, whatever, the short roll bullshit, whatever. Any of them can guard him. It's more just like, are you going to get a nuclear meltdown putting Dillon Brooks directly against Draymond within 2 minutes? Which is possible.
Guarding Draymond is not about guarding Draymond. Guarding Draymond is about what do you do when Draymond starts setting those illegal screens for Steph.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because now you have to guard Steph as well.
I know.
And I think that's why you kind of have to put Dillon Brooks on him, because Dillon Brooks, don't get me wrong, he's going to have some moments where he looks stupid. Everyone does against those two guys in important games, but Dillon Brooks is probably the guy who can make the smartest decision defensively as much as possible. And you don't want to risk getting Devin Booker in foul trouble.
I don't know that you can ask Dillon to keep his cool in that matchup.
I mean, you can say the same about Draymond, I think.
It's true. I think it's equally likely that either guy gets ejected.
Yeah.
I think 50 over under one of those guys gets ejected tomorrow. Not just a flagrant.
I think it's unlikely. I think the refs are going to try to keep them in the game, right?
I think there's like a 55% chance that one of them gets ejected.
I mean, the good news is for Dillon Brooks in the Portland Trailblazers game, although he did have a tech, that was kind of a bullshit tech, but, it whatever.
Was. 100%.
The one flagrant foul was against him and not him committing it. So it was Clingan grabbing him by the neck and pulling him back. So at least he, as far as antics goes, that's the direction we want the flagrant fouls flowing. God, say that 3 times fast. But that is kind of how we want it to happen. So hopefully he can do something like this in our favor. Get somebody like Draymond Green a flagrant foul instead of the other way around.
I wanted to say I missed the injury report you mentioned with Mark Williams. Was Grayson on that report?
He is. Grayson also questionable. So the full injury report is Kristaps questionable, Mark Williams, Grayson questionable.
They're gonna play. I think
Mark Williams is a foot injury, which Mark Williams has missed time with throughout his career. So there's always some chance that maybe he doesn't play. The question is, by the way, if he doesn't play, we don't have to spend too long on this. What do you do?
I mean, I think Malawach has played well enough that you can play him 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to.
I don't think it would be some disaster.
I'm not gonna lie. As someone who says the rookies aren't gonna fix everything, there were moments in that game against the Trailblazers where I was just like, put Malawach in. Who cares?
He has literally, and this is why I think some people are complaining about being gaslit. Like Malawach literally allowed, and it's against a different level of competition. I know.
Yes, in
But he
lower,
literally-
much lower stakes games.
He literally allowed like 40% shooting at the rim in the second
was
half
awesome.
of this
He was
season.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So 12 minutes in this game against a team that can't attack the basket to begin with, except for Steph and a switch. He'd probably be okay. There is a factor here.
In this game, I think that you probably lose those minutes. You just have to find ways to win the other ones.
Steph can't, but Steph can't play 48 minutes either, right? That's the other thing. Steph's not going to
Yes,
play 48
true.
minutes. He might play 40.
But I will say, like, rim protection against the Warriors, it's like, well, they don't shoot there anyway. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you need guys who can chase shooters against this team. That's where they kill you.
Another thing I want to emphasize just real quick, as we're talking about the bench needs to bring it. The bench was not good against the Blazers. But you also need to take care of the ball, especially against this Warriors team. They've got the Gary Payton and DeAnthony Melton dynamic duo off the bench, which really has the potential. I mean, it's kind of two Jordan Goodwins that they have, right? Has the potential to turn you over 5 or 6 times. I'm sure are going to be absolutely hounding Colin Gillespie when he's in the game. And whoever else ends up playing too. If Grayson plays, then he's going to get one of those guys assigned to him. So the Suns need to take care of business doing their typical thing of getting 9 or 10 steals, but then they also need to not allow the Warriors to get 9 or 10 steals on the other end.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. They have to win that. Like I said, they had 20 turnovers against the Clippers. The Suns have to find a way to turn that into a victory if they're able to force that against them. I do kind of think like it's one of those things where Devin Booker plays well, you feel confident. Colin Gillespie plays well, you feel confident. As far as the centers go, yeah, there is a little bit there with Oso where you feel a little bit better, but then you're giving up the potential for rebounds. And I don't know, how much is that a concern for you, that rebounding in this game? It was a problem in the Portland Trailblazers game, but not as bad as you would think it would have been. Like if you look at
they got out rebounded by the Blazers by a few rebounds. People hyper focused on the fact that it was the centers the Suns were playing, both Oso and Mark Williams, who didn't grab rebounds, and that's true. And they did get out rebounded, and in an ideal world, that doesn't happen. But it was not like they got out rebounded by 15 rebounds. There were other guys, wings, coming in to crash. Like we said earlier, Royce actually had a great game on the defensive glass against the Blazers, and he needs to hold it down again against a team like the Warriors. I'm not concerned about rebounding in this game. I mean, shame on the Suns if they do get significantly out-rebounded by this team, but you just shouldn't be significantly out-rebounded by this team. They're really old. They're really old, and they just don't have a center. Like, Kristaps Porzingis has never been a good rebounder, and he's their center.
2 things. One, there were so many Warriors fans in the Clippers arena. Could you hear that? Could you feel that during the game? Did you notice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's going to happen here. They travel well, and if they're here, they bought tickets. There's Warriors fans that live here. If they're here, they bought tickets. They're going to be in that arena. 2, not a lot of neutral fans are going to be on the Suns side for this one.
I agree.
They want to see Steph. They want to see Steph in the playoffs. He's old. You're only going to get this a few more times, at most. They want to see Steph in the playoffs.
This could be the last time.
Which,
I mean, the Warriors
makes it doubly satisfying if the Suns are the team to do it.
The Warriors are, not
shut
exactly.
Shut them all up. Shut them up in the arena. Shut them up online, too.
Sure. They're not building great teams around Steph right now in his twilight years,
No. I mean, if they were all, it's one of those, like the Suns in the last few years, if they were all a few years younger, they'd be amazing. But they're not. And, Jimmy Butler barely plays. So that's the case with this team.
How many minutes do you think Kristaps Porzingis and Steph shared the floor in the regular season? I looked this up.
A few hundred, I'm guessing.
A few hundred. That's generous.
Is it? Okay, I don't know. Porzingis missed a lot of time, and then Steph missed time. So I guess I haven't paid that much.
He was acquired at the trade deadline.
Oh, that's right. No, it was before the trade deadline, wasn't it? Or was it at the trade deadline? Either way.
Maybe it was before. It was like January at the earliest or something. And then
you're right. You're right. I was thinking they played the whole season together, though. You're right.
So you want to amend your guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, less than 100 then. I don't know.
8. The answer is 8.
No, chance. Is that real?
Yes, that's real.
That's
At
crazy.
Least, yeah, that's real. I looked it up today.
Okay,
and that's why it's
I was
like
way off, man. What a team to
not,
watch for those Warriors fans this year. That must
they
be
have
frustrating.
not developed chemistry yet because they haven't played. And then Horford is old. And
he was good. I know.
I think
Horford's going to be good.
He has the
Suns.
potential to hit 6 threes and make us all go home crying. But you should be shoving it down his throat when he's in the game. Like, we're not confident about our center rotation at the moment. Warriors fans should not be confident about their center rotation. They have big names. Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford are big names. Both guys have major problems.
Anything else you want to touch on? We didn't talk about Melton. I mean, Melton is going to be a guy.
Yeah, we did. Melton, he's
going to spend some time
us.
on Booker, spend some time on Jalen Green.
Melton's going to hound us. Peyton's going to hound us.
How do you feel about Jalen Green going into this game?
He was good. How do you feel about Devin Booker passing out of the last shot of the game to reward Jalen Green, who had 35 points and a better shooting night against the Blazers?
I think that I am 100% totally fine with that decision in that moment. There was 4 defenders in front of Booker.
You pissed some people off there saying that. Some people are going to say...
Of course. Those are the people that, they're Stephen A. Smith fans. I don't care.
I know some people in our Discord who are going to be pissed. They're
Good.
Gonna be pissed, but that's
good.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, Jalen had a classic. I mean, I don't know if I've watched enough Jalen Green on the Suns to call this classic Jalen Green or not yet, but he took tough shots and he made them. And good on him for making them. We need him to make more of those.
Yes, getting a wide open 3 by a guy who has 35 points in the closing minutes of a game is not a bad shot. That he should make it. Ultimately, that would be the best case scenario, but sometimes those shots don't go in. Shooting on 4 defenders is a bad shot. Like maybe you can find a different way to do it, but once you drive, because he's the guy that drives and creates, he's the only one that can do it, you have to create. And so that's what you have to do. Before that, he needs to play better. They should not be in the scenario where they're down like that. He has an opportunity to do it. They all have an opportunity to do it. You're calling it a Devin Booker legacy game on Twitter already.
I was just going to say, who else? It's a legacy game for a bunch of people. It's a Devin Booker
really,
legacy game
for the Suns, it's
sure.
just Booker, maybe Dylan Brooks.
It's an Oso legacy game for sure. This is a huge moment for Oso. If he's going to play as many minutes as we think he is.
For the Warriors, they kind of don't have anyone that needs this for their legacy.
I mean, it's just fun.
It's
Steph,
a Brandon
really.
Pajemski legacy game.
Yeah. I would call this a John Gambadoro legacy game. Is Devin Booker going to play like a middling number 2?
Jonathan Joseph Gambadoro. We're just going to make up his middle name now.
There you go.
All right. We'll be back after. I don't know what we're going to do after, actually. Traditionally, when the Suns season ends, we take a week off and we come back because nobody wants to listen in that first week after the season. So we're not going to put some content out if nobody's going to listen anyway. But
so if they win, we will probably record a direct reaction after the win, and then we'll have to preview OKC as well the next day or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, if they lose, we'll probably sulk for a little bit.
Yeah, the Suns fans will I don't mind recording immediately after a loss. I actually think sometimes when the emotions are hot for you and I, those are some of my favorite podcasts. Those are the funniest ones and then the ones that have the most energy. But nobody listens to them, so that's not my fault. So we'll just wait, give Suns fans a week off if that happens, and come back after that. But either way, I'm prepared to do a very nervous or sad preview for OKC if we have to. And and we'll see what ends up happening.
I think we got him right. We got him right where we want him. What can I say? They're shaking. They're shaking.
Like it really worked out really well for them because the Clippers losing gave them a lottery pick. So, everything kind of just works out for them. But yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Go Suns.
Go Suns.